everyone. You join me in the Cayman R in Northumberland for like I guess it's 2,000 mile update on this car, and like how I'm finding it so far, what I like, what I don't like, and we just thought it'd be nice to do it while driving. We're just cruising along at like 60 right now in an average speed camera zone, because I don't think there's any way, I'm not like Andrew, I won't be able to talk while I'm driving fast. So we're just taking this really like boring opportunity to film my part of the driving video essentially. So 2,000 miles in, we have actually done quite a bit to the car. So first off, the first thing we did was like change the tyres. I didn't really like the tyres that were on. I think, what was it, on super slippies?
They're on super sports, and
Yeah.
they were obviously the fronts. No, the fronts were about 10 years old, and the rears, one of the rears was quite new, but one was a few years old. And I obviously don't like to run tyres that will be on 6 years, because they start to go pretty hard and plasticky. So it's even no matter how much tread is on your tyre, you should always change them once they be on 6 years old. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so we changed the tyres. That was a massive improvement, just switching to the Continental Sport 7s, I think you put on.
Yep.
Which, big improvement. I think the ride was nicer. There was like, I think they also kind of feel better, but the main thing was that they actually had like lots of grip, which I like. Andrew likes the car to be quite playful. I get a bit scared if the rear end starts moving around a lot when I'm not expecting it, or if it starts understeering and things in the front. So that was a really nice change that made a big difference. Then after not doing that many miles in it, the front suspension collapsed, which I think is not a fault of the previous owner. He didn't really drive it. And I think we started driving it a lot, and suddenly like one of the front dampers just kind of gave up. So it was off the road for a little bit. Thankfully, Andrew is very handy with a spanner, and there is a video on the YouTube channel of him fixing the front suspension.
We'll stick a link to it at the end of the video.
Yeah, so that was good. I don't know whether that had much improvement on the handling, because we didn't really drive it that much before it actually collapsed, but I imagine it probably it wasn't broken anymore. So it's got a whole fresh new like front suspension going on, which obviously is great. This car handles amazing, it feels amazing. I think I said in my initial video, just before, like when we picked it up in November, just from that like initial drive back, that one of the things I really loved over the Alpine was the steering feel, and it has loads of steering feel. And it's just got like better the more I drive it, and obviously I've been like pushing it while we've been in Northumberland on all these lovely country winding B roads, and I think that's one thing that gives you so much confidence in the car, is how much like feel it has, and like just through the steering. Another thing that you might have seen that we've changed, speaking of steering, is the steering wheel. So it had that like leather steering wheel before, but I think an option on the Cayman R was that you could have an Alcantara wheel. This one doesn't have like the Alcantara dash or anything. It has like the painted option, but I really wanted an Alcantara wheel. I think it makes the car just feel like a bit more sporty, a bit more premium. To me, it gives you like a bit more grip as well than the leather, and it feels a lot warmer. So over winter, having the Alcantara wheel is really nice. And I was originally going to go for red. We went to the trimmer with red in mind for like the 12 o'clock. I think you have to have that. The original Cayman R was just like black Alcantara, but we were going to have like it in a red leather to match, the door pulls and the red seatbelt and things. I saw there was basically like a little scrap of green, and I saw that green leather, and I was like, you know what, that looks like an exact match for the Cayman R. And we didn't have the car with us, we're in another car, but I just went for it, and it's a perfect match, and it looks fantastic. So with all like the green paint and things, I'm really glad we went for the green with the Alcantara. That's a nice little update. I posted a photo on Instagram, and I got a lot of positive feedback about that as well, which is quite nice. When you make a mod like that, and people also
What's your Instagram so people can follow?
Oh, it's Peridot Porsche. It's doing quite well actually. I'm very shocked. There's a lot of people that follow it now, so it's very nice. There'll be loads of photos and videos from this weekend, because there's been so many wonderful spots to take photos of the car, and it's been lovely dry weather, so it's actually stayed quite clean, so it looks good in photos. So other changes on the car, I think, we had the alignment done, obviously the front suspension.
Yeah, it was quite a lot out after I'd had it all in bits. So.
Yeah, so that's once again helped with the steering feel. We found out that because it's got the different control arms, it has a lot of camber, but you can't actually adjust that camber.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can.
It's a caster.
Caster. It was caster that had too much that we couldn't adjust.
Yeah, so we're on a very fast road, slash track day setup.
Yeah, although it's not really had any negative impacts. Like some of the roads have been really bumpy, and it's not unsettled the car. Like the Alpine
Yeah, the
road...
steering stays pretty straight ahead. Even though we're running quite an extreme fast road track setup, if you like let go of the steering going down a bumpy road, the car does actually stay steering straight ahead. So it's, you know, it's not as bad as say a 992 GT3 on the factory setup. It's still quite pleasant. Even, I mean, we're running about, I think, just over 2 degrees, or about 2.5 degrees negative camber on the front and about 2 degrees in the rear. So when we do get it on track in the year, it should also be pretty amazing on track. We're obviously monitoring the tyre wear just to make sure, you know, it doesn't wear obscenely on the inside edges, but so far so good. Anyway, continue B.
Yeah, so that, I think that kind of covers everything. Oh, it's got a lightweight battery in it now as well. I think that was the other change we made. That's quite it's a small thing really, I guess, but it makes the car even lighter again. Oh, the main one, I totally forgot the main. We have Sports Chrono now.
Yes,
that's the main difference. So you can see there's like a load of buttons down here.
Two new buttons.
We've got Sport, which I think is my new favourite mode, which is what I use a lot when I'm driving it, because it makes the pedal much more responsive, but it doesn't really do anything to the gear shifts. Whereas like Sport Plus, but you basically have to use Sport Plus in manual, otherwise it's horrific. Obviously, Sports Plus is set up for track use, so
You're taking this exit.
Oh, okay. I was about to boot it past this car, but we'll get off it. Well, we might get a little bit of a run in Sports Plus. But Sports Plus is Andrew's favourite mode for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a 7th gear in Sports Plus either.
You're going left at the bottom, I think.
Oh, and it's a giveaway as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the downshifts and the upshifts are much more. It gives you like that kick, which is really nice, which is what it was lacking before. Whereas now you have that.
Oh, you give it a little bit going up there.
It's quite greasy, isn't it?
That'll be alright.
Yeah, even with that slippy road, it grips so well on these tyres. It's fantastic. Yeah, so I've got it in Sports Plus now. And what I really like is that before, it was just kind of meh. You know, it was in between. It wasn't really like a sporty gear shift. It kind of held the revs like an average amount, depending on how you were driving it. It was just a bit like middling. Whereas now, when you've got it in the normal mode, it's brilliant at driving to work, it's brilliant around town. It's very, I think it's more economical as well, I guess, because it's always trying to put it in like the top gear. So it seems like you get better fuel economy, and I prefer it driving to work because it makes the pedal like really, really lazy, which I think is better when you're stuck in traffic, which when I'm driving to work, I'm stuck in traffic quite a lot. But then you put it in sport and it like sharpens up the throttle response. It holds gears that bit longer. It just feels like a sporty car, like how it's meant to feel. And then Sports Plus, it is mega aggressive. If you've got your foot in it, which I'm going to do here again. Yeah, it slaps you in the back when you upshift, which I love. It just makes you smile. That's what it was lacking before, that the Alpine had, is that you had a lot more feel when you changed gears. You actually felt like, is it an inertia push, I suppose?
Yeah, and it's inertia shifting.
Yeah.
So it's not a full-on ignition cut where you get a whip crack or a bang like you do in some supercars. This is an inertia push that the supercars generally have in their track modes. Just a very nice feeling. It almost feels like when you up change, then you've had a push in the back and it's like sent you down the road a bit more. And you also can tell that you've changed gear. Whereas in the other mode, you wouldn't even know it's changed gear. It's very seamless, which I guess some people like. But for me, the whole reason of having paddles and changing gear is so you can actually feel the gear changes.
Yeah, I like that Sports Plus has that. So all of the modes now with Sports Chrono feel really different. And people did say this to us, it's like, oh, if you get a PDK car, you need Sports Chrono. We had a few issues, I'll be honest, like trying to find somewhere that would retrofit it. Like Porsche said they could do it, and then they backed out because they said they couldn't get the part.
Yeah, basically the switch panel, which is down here, they couldn't get the exact one. So I found one on eBay, and as you'll notice, we have a button here that we don't need. That's for your rear spoiler on a regular Cayman S. Well, obviously a Cayman R is a fixed spoiler. So we obviously don't have that spoiler.
Yeah, so that was an eBay purchase that Andrew managed to get hold of.
Yeah, but Porsche wasn't actually willing to coat the car without the correct panel. So I found a specialist. He agreed with what I said. I said, look, the panels are all the same because they all plug into the same harness. So there's nothing electrically different about a panel because every Cayman has the same harness. And he agreed with me. Went, yeah, that makes total sense. So yeah, I'll code it for you. He got it all, and he coded the car. And unfortunately, one of the modules in the car wasn't working properly. Obviously, it must have, been shot or just something in the past, which meant he didn't want to take the code. But thankfully, he was able to take the module out of the car, do something with it on a bench, fix it, put it back in, and then the sports chrono flashed to the car, no problem. And yeah, it's a transformation. The best, it's like what I said about Audi R8, the £2,000 they spent on the exhaust, best mod, spending the grand on the sports chrono retrofit for the Cayman R, yeah, best £1,000 you can probably spend on the car.
Yeah, it's made such a massive difference to how the car feels to drive in like all the different modes. I didn't think it would make as much of a difference as it did. I think the accelerator pedal is the biggest difference. It's not lazy at all anymore. In Sports and Sports Plus, it's got that proper NA feel, you know.
I'm just going to interrupt you. I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera, but if you look really far ahead, you can literally see the road miles and miles ahead. Some of the roads in Northumberland is like being on a big dipper. They literally go up and down. I mean, this is the more boring route because we are going to Edinburgh, so we're just taking the 8 road. Oh, Briony's giving it up. So we're just taking the 8 road just for simplicity. But if you get off the beaten track around here and take some of the side roads, they are absolutely amazing fun and built for a Cayman R or any Cayman for that matter. Demonstrate the kick down. If you bury the throttle.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just.
Oh, I nearly just got knocked out by that upshift.
I'm sorry, it actually shifted by itself.
Briony is definitely only doing the speed limit, guys. So, yeah, it's as I said in my segment, you don't need more than 300 horsepower to have fun.
It's very fast. So that's another thing. Like it's impressive on like a B road, and like the engine is fantastic as well. I think one thing that, like, I'm comparing it once again to the Alpine, is that car it's brilliant chassis, so lightweight, such a cool car, but the engine was just like essentially it was a Megane engine, and they tried to spice things up a bit by adding some like pops and bangs, and it made like quite a lot of cool noises and stuff. But the Cayman R just has such a fantastic flat 6
soundtrack.
Yeah, even without the sports exhaust. I like the sound how it is, to be honest, because I think because the engine's like in the cabin with you, you get a lot of that really nice noise. But yesterday we heard it making some very nice gurgles and pops, but they were very muted. I think it's because it got so hot that the exhaust was making like some really, really cool noises, but we couldn't really hear them. And I was thinking like, oh, imagine that with like a really nice exhaust note, you'd be able to hear more of those because I love gurgle. Like when we have the 458, that car makes some amazing noises. It's just trying to figure out the best way to do that without like spending a whole ton of money, because there is some amazing titanium exhaust systems and stuff, but when you're like $4,000 for an exhaust, which is like 10% of the value of the car, it seems quite insane to spend that much. So we will see. We're going through a few windy bits here, so I think maybe now is quite a good time to talk about the handling. I do not push the car nowhere near as far as Andrew pushes the car, because my driving skill level is not the same as Andrew's driving skill level. However, it feels great in the corners and it does inspire me with lots of confidence, and sometimes I look down at the speedo and I'm like, I can't believe I was going that fast. So it's very confident, inspiring to the point where it really urges you on, and it feels great through the corners. It doesn't do anything that kind of like upsets me as a driver. So yeah, overall love the handling. I like the humps. It's very good to place on these narrow roads. You can see that you've got these like big arches at the front here, and I really like that because I'm not the most confident when it comes to heading down like a windy road. I'm sort of like worried about curbing the wheel or maybe going over too far. But thankfully the Cayman R is very small anyway, and you've got these humps which just really mean, as a driver, even when you sat down low in the bucket seat, you're like very aware of where the car is on the road, which I like. But overall, absolutely loving it. We've done 2,000 miles, 2,000 glorious miles. I mean, actually probably 1,000 of them has been spent like not so gloriously, doing like more boring work trips and things, but this trip has been fantastic and it's made me fall in love with the car. So another thing I really like about the Cayman R is how practical it's been on this trip. We've gone away for like a long weekend, and I am a chronic overpacker, mostly because of the British weather, and I don't like to like plan my outfits too much, so I just take loads of different clothes and make sure I've got loads of options. When we're in something like the McLaren or the Audi, it doesn't have a huge amount of boot space, so I can only really take like one small carry-on bag. But the Cayman R has like, you've got a massive boot at the front, you've got the huge space at the back, so I've managed to bring loads of stuff with me. I do a lot of like shopping trips in the Cayman R, like when we go and do the weekly shop. It's got loads of room for loads of shopping, and it's just a very practical, very usable car. It's got those upgraded LED headlights that we mentioned like back in November. Obviously managed to get some use out of those now. They are great in the dark. Not as good as the Alpine on full beam. Alpine on full beam literally made it like daytime. So they're not quite that good. But when they're dipped, I'd say they're definitely good enough. They're better than I'd thought they'd be anyway. Other like practical life things, the miles per gallon is surprisingly good. I think because it's a PDK, on the motorway journey up here, we got about 43, which was really quite good. Although I had someone message me on Instagram and say, oh, I've managed to get 45 out of mine and it's a manual. And that's only got the 6 gears, not 7. So maybe we could have tried even harder on that.
Yeah, we were doing about an average of about 80.
Yeah, so it probably, yeah, you can get, I guess you can get up to like 45, maybe even like 48 if you're really careful and you're sat behind a lorry going 60. But yeah, it is surprisingly good on a run. And on the motorway, it doesn't get buffeted by the wind or anything, which is quite nice because the Alpine seems to get that for some reason. I guess because this car is like a little bit heavier, you don't get any of that like weird.
Yeah. This car does run much wider tyres as well, which probably helps.
Yeah. Aquaplaning, I don't know. Have you driven it in heavy rain? I've not really driven it.
I'm one of those people, you know, there's physics in place. No matter what tyres I've got on or what car I've got on, I ain't going to try to drive down a motorway in horrific conditions at like 70, 80 mile an hour. I just slow down and just take it easy.
Yeah, so it seems to be overall like very practical and very safe. In the cold weather, I'm just careful once again, and it's on these good tyres, so it seems perfectly fine. And once again, like, because you've got the different modes, if you just leave it in the normal mode, the throttle is so lazy that you don't get any
Traffic
like
lights.
Unexpected wheel spin or anything. It just seems like a very, very usable car overall, which I love. However, I love it so much that it's made me buy another car because I feel immense guilt driving it in winter when the roads have been salty and it's been cold, and even though it's been amazingly practical, I just feel really guilty driving it because I love it so much and I think it deserves better. So you will soon see on the channel that I've made a petrol head crime, and I've bought an EV.
And the worst EV.
It's actually the worst EV, so it depends when this video gets posted whether you know or not what we've bought. But yeah, I love this car so much that I've actually bought a car to commute in so I can enjoy it more, because I want to put miles on it, but I want to put fun miles on it. And I think even though we're probably going to have it for a really, really long time, I don't want to put unnecessary wear on like the suspension, and I don't want it to corrode by driving it in winter on like really horrible salty roads. So I've bought something that I can sort of like abuse a bit more on that journey to work.
Something with a softer ride as well for the city.
Yeah, it is.
And more clearance.
It is quite firm. And it is quite low as well. Like speed bumps, you have to go very slowly over them. The Alpine was low as well, but it seemed, I don't know whether because the nose was a bit shorter, it seemed to handle bumps and things better, and potholes and things. So yeah, the Porsche is so good and I love it so much that it's actually made me buy another car.
Yeah, so we're heading to Edinburgh to buy this other car, and this is going to be a test for the Cayman because we're actually going to park it in a multi-storey, because nearly all the car parks in Edinburgh that are of a reasonable cost are all underground car parks. So yeah, wish us luck. I think the only thing you've missed, Brian, is maybe the brakes.
Oh yeah, I've completely missed the brakes. I've completely missed the brakes. They're great. The only thing that really annoys me is that they squeak a lot, because I've been driving it to work. So when the car's been washed, that seems to really trigger them into squeaking. Yeah,
that's not a fault of the car. I'd say this car's running a GT3 brake master cylinder and also Pagid RS29 track pads. So yeah, the performance is amazing. But of course, anybody who does track days and puts track pads in their cars will know that the negative to that is that they're normally quite noisy, and these are definitely noisy when you've not been giving them some abuse.
Yeah, they weirdly enough, when they squeak in reverse, they don't squeak going forwards, but sometimes they also squeak like going forwards, which means that it doesn't squeak in a reverse.
Yeah, that's just the shampooing of the pads.
Yeah, that's the only bugbear. But the good thing is that you get amazing performance from them. And on this trip, like, Andrew has been hammering the brakes for literally hours at a time.
No fade.
And yeah, no fade. The brake pedal, and I feel like the Alpine, it was like a bit too easy to lock them up.
The ABS seemed to trigger very easily in the Alpine, whereas the ABS in the Cayman is perfectly judged. But anybody who's owned Porsches, I will swear by this with Porsches, they are some of the best cars when it comes to stopping. 911s, Caymans, the brakes are always immense. Never tailgate a sports car or a supercar, because they will outstop any regular car considerably, especially from higher speeds. And I think we should probably wrap it up there so that Briony can actually enjoy these roads.
Yeah, the roads are glorious, and as you can see, it's a lovely sunny day. I think we got so lucky with the weather. Look
at this and look how quiet they are. So we're going to wrap it up there. Oh, we're being overtaken by an SQ7 who really wants to go fast. As always, I've probably said it several times in the video. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and thank you for watching.
Let's do one last floor.
Just going to do one last pull.
Ready? Just to end the video. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Don't bottom out, car. Woo! Let's say, look at this uphill now, right? We're going to call it a day there, guys. We're going to enjoy the roads. Bye-bye.